Warren Buffett has said one thing for 60 years straight, and almost nobody has actually listened. Not Wall Street, not your financial advisor, not the guy on YouTube telling you to buy crypto. Here's what's wild. The Warren Buffett mindset to build wealth isn't complicated. It's not a formula. It's not a secret stock. It's one single shift in how you think about money. And if you don't make that shift, it doesn't matter how much you earn. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You'll keep running faster on the same treadmill. There are people right now, people your age, your income, your zip code, who are quietly building wealth. Not because they got lucky, not because they know something you don't, but because they made one decision that changed everything. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that decision is. And more importantly, you'll know why you haven't made it yet. That part? That's going to sting a little. Picture this. It's 2012. A man named Marcus, 43 years old, works in logistics in Columbus, Ohio, is sitting at his kitchen table at 11 at night. The kids are asleep. His wife is in bed. And he's staring at his 401k statement. $41,000, that's everything. 15 years of work. He'd done everything right, or so he thought. He showed up. He saved. He never bought anything stupid. But every time the market dipped, and it always dipped, Marcus moved his money, pulled it into a money market fund, waited for things to calm down, then moved it back. It felt smart. It felt like control. Here's what Marcus didn't know. Every time he moved that money, he locked in his losses. And every time the market recovered without him, he missed the gains. Between 2000 and 2012, the S&P 500 recovered twice from massive crashes. The people who stayed in, the ones who did nothing, came out ahead. Marcus, he ended the decade almost exactly where he started it, not because the market failed him, because his own mind did. The night I'm describing, Marcus had just opened an email from his company's HR department. Subject line, "Your 401k match. Are you maximizing it?" He thought he was. He wasn't. He put the statement face down on the table, walked to the fridge, grabbed a Coke, and stood there in the dark, in his own kitchen, feeling like the world had a rule book that nobody had ever handed him. The air was stale. The refrigerator hummed. And Marcus just stood there, wondering what he was missing. That feeling right there, that's where this video starts. Because Marcus isn't a failure. Marcus is you. Marcus is me. Marcus is 68% of American households right now, working hard, trying to be responsible, and still falling behind. And the one reason that explains almost all of it, comes back to something Warren Buffett has been pointing at for 6 decades. It's not the market. It's the mindset. So why does this happen? Why do smart, hardworking people, people like Marcus, people like you, keep making the same money mistakes over and over? Here's the truth, and it's uncomfortable. Your brain is not built for wealth building. It was built for survival. Thousands of years ago, your ancestors lived in a world where losing something meant death, losing food, losing shelter, losing the tribe. So your brain evolved one core rule. Losses hurt twice as much as gains feel good. Scientists call this loss aversion. Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in economics, proved it in study after study. When people were offered a coin flip, heads you win $200, tails you lose $100, most people said no. Even though the math is clearly in their favor, we feel the possible loss more than the probable gain. Warren Buffett has called this kind of fear-driven reaction to markets the most expensive emotion in investing. He didn't say that once. He's said it hundreds of times. Because he's watched smart people destroy wealth, not through bad luck, but through good intentions. Here's a number that should stop you cold. Between 1993 and 2013, a 20-year period that included 2 of the worst market crashes in modern history, the S&P 500 returned about 9.2% annually. The average investor, according to research by Dalbar, a respected financial research firm, the average investor earned just 2.5% annually over that same period. The market made 9. The investor made 2.5. Same market. Completely different outcome. The gap isn't knowledge. The gap is behavior. Now here's where it gets deeper. Loss aversion doesn't just show up when markets crash. It shows up in everyday decisions, ones that feel completely logical in the moment. You hold on to a losing stock because selling means admitting you were wrong. You keep money in a savings account earning 1% because the stock market feels risky. You delay starting your 401k because you'll wait until things settle down. Each decision feels safe. Each decision is slowly wrecking your future. There's even a name for one version of this trap: the sunk cost fallacy. You felt this, even if you didn't have a name for it. Think about the last time you held on to something: a bad investment, a job going nowhere, a strategy that clearly wasn't working, not because it made sense to stay, but because you'd already put so much in. Already too deep to quit. That's not logic. That's loss aversion wearing logic's clothing. Marcus did this too. Every time the market dropped, he told himself he was being smart, being cautious, protecting what he'd built. But what he was really doing every single time was letting fear make his financial decisions. And fear, as an investment strategy, has the worst track record in human history. Here's the zoom out moment. This isn't just Marcus. This isn't just one generation of Americans making bad 401k choices. According to Federal Reserve data, the bottom 50% of American households hold less than 1% of the country's total stock market wealth. That's not because they couldn't invest. That's not because the market wasn't available to them. In most cases, it's because their brain told them at the worst possible moment, now is not the time. And the Warren Buffett mindset to build wealth starts with understanding exactly why that voice is so loud and why it's almost always wrong. This is the trap. Now let's talk about the way out. Before I get into the fix, if this is already landing different, hit subscribe. The Compound Wisdom drops this kind of insight every single week. No hype, no noise, just the thinking that actually builds wealth. Now here's what most people never figure out. Warren Buffett was 25 years old when he wrote something that most people still haven't fully understood. He called it the newspaper test. Before making any investment decision, he'd ask himself one question: would I be comfortable if the whole world could see exactly what I'm doing? And why? But here's the part that matters for you. The deeper principle wasn't about reputation. It was about permanence of thinking. Buffett decided early that he would not let short-term information change long-term decisions. That's it. That's the Warren Buffett mindset to build wealth. Not a stock tip, not a formula, a decision about how to think. Now let's make this real. Step 1. Understand what long-term actually means in your life. Most people say they're long-term investors. Then they check their 401k during a market dip and move everything to bonds. That's not long-term. That's long-term thinking with short-term reflexes. Here's a real number. If you had invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 in January of 2000, right before the dot-com crash, and you did nothing, absolutely nothing, for 20 years, by 2020, you'd have roughly $32,000. If you had moved to cash during the 2008 crash and missed just the 10 best trading days, you'd have about $15,000, 10 days. Out of 7,300, cut your wealth almost in half. Buffett has a line that sounds simple until you really hear it. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. He's not being clever. He's describing a war between your brain and your bank account, and patience is the only weapon that wins. Step 2. Treat your investment behavior like a system, not a feeling. Here's what the wealthy do differently, and I mean this literally. They set up automatic contributions every single month, same amount, regardless of what the market is doing. This strategy has a name: dollar cost averaging. And the reason it works isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. When you automate the decision, you remove your brain from the loop. No fear, no hesitation, no now isn't the right time. Fidelity once analyzed the performance of accounts across their entire platform. The best performing accounts over time, the ones that grew the most, belonged to customers who had either forgotten they had an account or had passed away. Let that land. The best investors weren't investing better. They were interfering less. Think about what that means for you. Every time you log in during a market drop, you're not managing your money. You're putting your fear in charge of your future. Step 3. Build what Buffett calls a circle of competence. and stay inside it. Here's where most people go wrong. They chase complexity. They see someone online day trading options, showing big wins, and think that's the edge they're missing. It isn't. Remember GameStop, January 2021. Millions of regular Americans, many of them first-time investors, piled into a single stock, driven by meme energy and Reddit momentum. Some made money, most didn't. Many lost money they couldn't afford to lose. Buffett watched that entire episode from Omaha and said nothing, because he'd seen that movie before. In 1999, in 2008, every time it ends the same way. Complexity feels like sophistication, but sophistication in investing almost always loses to simplicity, done consistently for a very long time. Here's what this looks like for you this week. First, log into your 401k and confirm you're capturing your full employer match. That's a 100% return, guaranteed, on every dollar you put in up to the match limit. If you're not taking it, you're leaving free money behind. Second, if you don't have a Roth IRA, open one this week, not next month, this week. The contribution limit this year is $7,000 if you're under 50. Every dollar you put in now grows tax-free for decades. Third, set up automatic monthly contributions, even if it's just $50. Remove the decision from the equation. Let time do the work your fear won't let your brain do. And here's what Buffett understood. That took 60 years to prove, but takes 60 seconds to apply. The market will always recover. It has, every single time in American history. The only question is whether you're still in it when it does. Even I had to unlearn the instinct to move when things got scary. It's not weakness. It's biology. But once you name it, you can override it. That's the whole game. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not someone who got unlucky. You are not someone who missed the boat. You are someone who was never taught how your own brain works against you financially, and now you know. That changes things. Marcus, the guy from Columbus, sitting in his dark kitchen at 11 at night, he eventually learned this, not from a financial advisor, not from a book, from a moment exactly like this one, where someone just told him the truth. He stopped moving his money every time the market dropped. He automated his contributions. He stopped logging in during crashes. By the time he turned 55, 12 years later, his 401k had crossed $280,000. Not because the market was magic, because he got out of his own way. He didn't change his salary. He didn't get lucky on a stock. He changed how he thought. The Warren Buffett mindset to build wealth isn't reserved for billionaires. It never was. It's available to anyone right now who decides to stop letting fear drive. You just made that decision. 15 minutes ago, you didn't have a name for what was holding you back. Now you do. Now you know why smart people lose money. And you know the one mindset shift that changes everything. But here's what's even more dangerous. And almost nobody is talking about it. There's a second trap, one that doesn't show up during market crashes. It shows up when everything is going great, when your portfolio is up, when you feel confident, when you start to believe you've figured it out. That's when the real damage happens. The next video is about the single most common mistake people make once they finally start building wealth. And it's brutal. Because by the time you see it, it's already cost you. That's the next one. Don't miss it. If the compound wisdom helped you think differently today, subscribe. Share this with one person who needs to hear it. That one person could change their entire financial future because of a conversation you started. I'll see you in the next one.